Hospitality is so different when it comes to, I guess, competition and other businesses doing a similar thing, because it doesn't matter how many restaurants and pubs and wine bars there are in Melbourne. You can all be successful in your own ways and you can all prop each other up. I really believe that there is so much strength in unity in hospitality and small businesses. I think it's so important to look at your competitors in that way as friends and people that can actually really support you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Wibs podcast. Today we are joined by Kelsie Grace, the founder and creative force behind Gracie's Wine Room, a dreamy neighbourhood wine bar that has been taking TikTok by storm and winning hearts as a local favourite. Kelsie opens up about how she transformed a bold idea into a buzzing community hub in just a few short weeks. We're talking literally 2 months. We talk about the messy middle of launching a business, the power of showing up authentically on social media, and what it really takes to create a space that feels just as good as it looks. This episode is super inspiring. It's full of lessons for anyone dreaming of building something of their own. It's all about trusting your gut, staying scrappy, and pouring your heart into the process. Let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Natasha.
And I'm Penny.
And welcome back to the Wibs. Today we have the wonderful Kelsie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, girls.
We're very excited. Now you might recognise her beautiful face from TikTok, from Instagram. Tell us a bit about yourself and why we might recognise you.
That's a great question. I am Kelsie and I co-founded Gracie's Wine Room. Actually, I think I'd like to re-say that because it's not co-founded. I technically just did find it. Okay. Yes, well, my name is Kelsie and I recently, in the last 8 months, have opened up a wine bar here in South Yarra.
So exciting. And I'm yet to visit, but
I need
to go. So up my alley. I think it's unreal. Share why Gracie's has, there's been a lot of wine bars that have opened up in recent times, but Gracie's just has something so unique and so different about it. And I think the fact that, when you talk to people, it's already got this familiarity behind it. Talk to me how you built that.
It's so hard because I guess we just never had the intention that it would be what it would be today. And when we look back to the concepting phase and how we really came about Gracie's, it was honestly me not feeling super motivated in my corporate 9 to 5. And I started looking for passion projects and what could I do that would fulfill me more. My partner and I were always super keen on the idea of starting a business one day and following a dream outside of the 9 to 5 grind. And for me, it really came about what I love doing the most with my girlfriends is going out on a Saturday afternoon at like 3-4 o'clock, having a little cheeky wine, just like laughing and crying, doing whatever you have to do. And you go home by like 8-9 p.m. and you feel just so fulfilled from that day. And when we thought about Gracie's and starting it, I honestly thought that I would be there by myself with maybe 1 or 2 staff members, 6-7 days a week, and we'd make enough money to kind of break even and pay the rent. I didn't think that I would need lots of staff members. I thought Taylor, my partner, would come in after work and help me. And so I guess we didn't plan for it to be like this, I guess. And maybe that's the best part of it all.
Yeah. And for those who maybe aren't familiar with Gracie's, talk about the starting point of obviously you shared so much and built it so publicly online, particularly on TikTok. Talk through the journey of getting started and putting your journey out there so publicly.
Yeah, I personally, as my demographic, as a Gen Zer, I do use TikTok as a search engine. And so when I kind of started coming up with the idea of starting a business and specifically a wine bar, I was searching a lot online, specifically TikTok, about other people that maybe had gone through something similar to get some tips and tricks and advice. And I couldn't find anything about someone opening a bar. There was a couple of random things in America I remember stumbling across, but not at all relevant, I guess, to the Australian market and landscape. And so I first started using TikTok more of a search engine and to get some ideas and advice from people that might want to come on the journey with me and help me out because I had no idea what I was doing. And then secondly, I thought what a cool way to document it, that once we're up and running, when we're established, whatever happens, if that's a successful business or a failed business, that we can look back at that in how many ever years' time and really see the whole journey. And I do that so often, actually. I go back and I watch the videos because to this day, it's probably the best part of the entire process was those 2 months where my friends, my partner and I were just building it, and it was so fun.
So exciting. And I think the ability to bring everyone on a journey with you. I think what you said about not being able to find anything relevant, I think what I love about your story the most is the world of e-commerce is like e-commerce and building a business and founder-led brands is really, really, it's having its boom at the moment. But those retail, hospitality type businesses, you're right, it is there's less people sharing that story. And maybe it's because of the difficulty as part of it. There's less, it's a lot harder to get into. Is the hospitality business, like hospitality and restaurants and wine bars, it does have that kind of illusion of really, really difficult, which is why a lot of people start that e-commerce, quick selling, what's it called, drop shipping, like those kind of things that are really. So I love that you've kind of gone, well, wine bar, like I'd love that, like let's go. Were you ever worried about, the hospitality side? Did you have background in it?
I actually, do you know what? I don't wish I knew what I knew now. I was so naive going into it, and maybe that was the best way to be, because I wasn't worried about how hard it would be or how challenging it would be. I really backed myself in regardless of it. I also, because I didn't have any hospitality experience, I probably didn't know the nuances and the challenges that actually came with not just working in hospitality, but running a hospitality business in this climate with all of these governing bodies and everything like that. I really didn't understand the challenges and difficulties that it would come with. So being super naive maybe was a blessing and a curse. I think it really motivated me through the whole way. And then it's obviously been really, really challenging at parts. Like I don't shy away from that. It's been the highest of highs, but also the lowest of lows creating this business. And that's something that I do like to be super transparent with online, because it is bloody hard in hospitality. And I think it always has been, but I just didn't know.
Yeah. And
Good on you. I love it.
It's a crazy thing though, because it's like, it's a ballsy move. Like what Tash was saying, like you see, and it's so prolific now, like for people to go and start drop shipping brands or e-com brands. And it seems like it's something that's a hustle and a grind you can kind of do while you're working full time. But when you built Gracie's, was this something that you had to go like all in, like full time on, like quit your job and then like that's it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a year ago this month that I quit my full-time job. There was no way. We originally thought maybe I could try and work a couple days a week because we didn't know if I'd be able to receive any income from this business. So it was a massive worry and risk financially, because I quite literally put every cent I'd ever saved or had into Gracie's. And so my partner and I were worried about, how do I actually afford to live, pay rent, pay bills? So at that stage, we kind of were hoping maybe I could get like a day a week somewhere to just have some income. But the reality is as soon as I clicked go and actually quit my previous corporate 9 to 5, there was no possible way for me to have another job or anything like that. So you're all in, and it's 7 days a week. It's relentless.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's very different to a lot of the journeys that you hear. Like, we interviewed Caitlin, who runs Potentia Pilates, and she was talking about how she keeps her full-time job going while she's funding that. So in terms of like, I guess like the financial aspect of it, like were you funding this like all through your own savings? And is that like what got you off the ground to like get the business started?
Yes, that's a really interesting question and something that we had to put a lot of thought into. So I was 24 when I decided to do Gracie's Wine Room, and just naturally, I didn't have a whole lot of savings. I started saving maybe a few years prior, really got into the stock market thanks to my partner, Taylor, and that did okay. And so I had a small amount of savings there, but I didn't have enough to start a hospitality business. If you know how much a hospitality business is to start, it is wild. And so then my partner, Taylor, was like, okay, I'll invest Kels. He had some savings as well. That still wasn't nearly enough money. So at that point, we kind of were going through the options of like, can I afford to do this? Should I put it off till down the track when I'm a little bit more established? But then we kept coming up with excuses. In like 5 to 10 years, I'll maybe be married and maybe want children, and that will be my priority. Or maybe I'll just like have worked so hard in my corporate that I'd want that to be my priority. And it kind of felt like it's a now or never situation. So we pitched ourselves to friends, family, everyone to try and get investors on board. And that was really hard. No one wanted to take the leap of faith, I guess, and back us in. And like, why would you? People like 2 25-year-olds are coming to you asking for a lot of money to invest in them when they had no experience in hospitality. But we finally convinced some mates along the way to just do like 5 and 10% chunks here and there. And that's honestly what helped us raise enough capital to start Gracie's.
That's unreal. And what I love the most about that is like you've obviously got told no quite a bit. You got told no, and I think that's one thing that's really hard is like you don't get instant gratification from business. It's not as if it's like, oh yeah, cool, you make money and it's so this and it's that. Like even before even starting your business, you received that much rejection, and no's and no's and no's. I think that almost kind of helps build that resilience when you then go to all the hard yards that you've spoken about. And I'm sure, we'll get into, the actual difficulties of everything that you've had to do. But your resilience started before you even looked at a business, which I think is really special for your story. I think that's really nice. When you talk about the sharing everything, when did you make that decision? Like when did you decide that you were going to be so open about your experience?
I think from the very beginning, I've always been a very transparent person. There's not much that I really keep to myself. And there's no hiding behind it. I had a really tough upbringing and I had a lot of struggles growing up. I'm from a single parent household. We didn't have a lot of money. My mum is an amazing woman and worked so hard to raise my sister and I, and she did an amazing job, obviously. But, there were a lot of challenges that came with the childhood that I had. And I've always just felt like there was just this drive in me that I wanted to do more and be more. And if I could ever achieve that, my goal in life is to inspire other young girls that had the same upbringing as me, that really tried hard to fit in, that didn't have a lot of money. And I just really want to empower them and tell them, like, you don't need to come from a wealthy family and you don't need to have all of these things in order to do something with yourself and be something. So I just really always knew that regardless of the outcome of Gracie's or the business, that I just wanted to bring people along that journey and show, do you know what, even if it doesn't go well, like you can literally do anything you put your mind to. Money's not a problem. Doesn't matter where you come from, you can do it. And so I think that's why I wanted to be so open, to be honest.
It's really brave because I think that what you've done is you've kind of gone against what social media was, which was like this beautiful curated, how good is my life? How good is everything that I'm doing? How good is everything? You've kind of been like, okay, even if this does fail, I'm actually really comfortable with sharing that, which I think is brave in itself because it's something that a lot of people when getting into social media find really intimidating. It's like, how perfect can I be? And they don't want to share the lows or share something that could be a low eventually. Luckily, it's not. Luckily, you've grown an amazing business. So talk us through that. How did you find the space? Like you've got prime space, like you've been able to do something that feels impossible. How?
Taylor and I spoke about this the other day, that we can't believe we really do feel like it all fell into place for us, and there was a lot of luck involved. I mean, there was a lot of hard work involved, don't get me wrong, but so many things just happened at the right time. I feel like Gracie's happened at the right time, and I was being quite strategic about that. We could have opened, or we actually were trying to do it all in a month, which imagine starting a hospitality business in a month. Anyway, we did it in 2 months, which is still wild.
Like not that much longer.
It's still wild. But we were trying originally to open in December, and I was so against that. And I was like, no, Melbourne disappears at the end of December. Everyone goes to their bloody holiday houses and everything. Melbourne is a ghost town. Let's push it out till January. And then it was very strategic. Don't do early January because it's still a ghost town. And so I just think we timed everything so well. It was that area in particular, Toorak Rd. It has had a bit of a lull for the last 5 years, in my opinion. There are some really beautiful businesses on Toorak Rd that are amazing, but that end, kind of the Punt Road end, was just missing a few things. And so I feel like that was also just perfectly timed. People in that area were wanting something more, and wine bars are obviously very popular. The nightclub industry is dying in Australia, and up and coming is restaurants and wine bars and even pubs to an extent. So I think everything was just perfectly timed, and it fell into our lap a little bit. I did see a couple of other venues before I saw Gracie's. I actually saw one just around the corner here on High Street in Armidale. It just felt like there wasn't enough foot traffic on this part of High Street late at night. And when I saw Gracie's, it was the courtyard. Inside was like, I could not see the vision, but the courtyard, I saw the courtyard and I was like, this is the one.
Yeah, that's cool. That's it's like when you walk into something, you just kind of get that, okay, I can imagine people here. I can see my friends and family here. That's awesome.
And it's such a strategic move too, like to obviously like, you know, there's so much that goes into like planning and thinking about like where to open, like, you know, different like restaurants and bars. And I often think like sometimes where people open, I'm like, I'm really surprised at this area because there is the consideration of the foot traffic and also like the feeling of the area. But it's interesting timing too, because I feel like, you know, obviously this is very Melbourne specific, but like that Toorak Rd area is getting like a bit of a resurgence now and it's got, you know, a whole injection of energy. But do you feel like it's changed a lot from like when you're opening in Jan to where you are now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Toorak Rd has had a few more businesses pop up as well, kind of down our end, which are doing quite well, I believe. And even down the other end, the Republic Economica boys, they're absolutely killing it. We have great relationships with them and I feel like they've also brought a lot of life to the Strip as well. And I think between the two businesses, not to sound, you know, not humble or up myself, but I really do believe that we've been able to bring a younger demographic to the Strip and that the Toorak Rd is actually really great for that. And yeah, I feel really happy about that actually.
100%. And it's good for it's good for the economy in different areas, like what you said about different, like people want to, especially in Melbourne in particular, but people want to, especially wine bars, like go from place to place or go to a pub, go to a wine bar or go to a wine bar, then be able to walk to somewhere else and have that like kind of ability to walk from places. And I think that or be a close enough range to go to a restaurant after or go to a wine bar after. And I think that that's where you've really nailed the spot because it's like the perfect spot where you're central, you've got places around you that you can kind of hop to should you need to, or restaurants. And yeah, I absolutely believe that you've been able to bring a younger demographic to it. And it just makes the whole area, it's like when you see a lot of businesses that you do pop up in areas that don't have a lot of foot traffic, then all of a sudden that street becomes really popular. I love seeing that because it's really nice when you can see a business that's kind of transformed an area, which I can agree. I think bringing a younger demographic to it, definitely. So how, with no experience in hospitality, as you said, how do you go from that to, you know, renting, a place in South Yarra, you know, Toorak Rd, incredible space. How do you, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes now and be like, okay, cool, we've done this. We've got the name, we've got the place. Then I'm thinking like menus, food, wines, how do you kind of go from all that chaos that goes into your mind when thinking about it to where you are now?
It was really sink or swim, right? That was kind of the only way to describe it. And back when I quit my job, I had this big calendar. People that maybe watched my earlier videos remember it. I had this big calendar on my windows and it was every day. I had 99 days from the day I quit my job until when we were going to open. It was exactly 99 days. And I went through every single day and jotted down what I had to do, whether that was, you know, the branding, whether that was setting up the bank accounts, insurance, everything. And I would just Google for hours on end. I would speak to lots of people that had other businesses, not even in hospitality, but other businesses. What do you think you need to set up a business? And just continue to jot down, because there are so many things that you don't realize you need. You need Xero set up. You need your account set up. You need, like, it's just never ending. You need to get a registration for food. You need to get a liquor license, you need to get all of these things, and that usually has flow-on effects. You might need to get an acoustic report to get the liquor license. It's just so ongoing. So I just spoke to so many people, and every time I learned something else that I needed to, you know, sign up for WorkSafe and, you know, make sure my employees are covered. And then I need to hire employees. How do I do that? And so every time I thought of something, I wrote it down and I stuck sticky notes and I gave myself deadlines and just project managed. And that was kind of what I did in my 9 to 5. I was a project manager and an account manager. So that was actually a great skill that was able to be transferable across to starting Gracie's.
I love that. I mean, I remember the big one stuck up on your window, and I think honestly you could sell that as a blueprint for people wanting to start a wine, but like, here you go, this is all the hard work, do it in 90 days type thing. It's amazing what you've built. But I know like you're sharing a lot online, it's like very public, but is there anything that happens like behind the scenes that you don't share that, you know, maybe don't line up with what people's expectations or, you know, thoughts around starting this business would be?
I think I've learned that I'm really happy to share anything that I'm personally going through online associated with the business, but there's a boundary of what is appropriate and isn't appropriate to share. And if that's, impacting someone else, like anything staff related, if there's anything serious going on, I would never want to share that online, because it's not just going to impact me, it impacts the business and it impacts that staff member. So there are little nuances like that, which I just think there's a boundary of what is appropriate and isn't appropriate. And yeah, there are a lot of challenges that I think you can't just blast on the internet for everyone to have an input on. But I think as soon as we overcome those challenges, I feel comfortable sharing them. It's just in real time. Sometimes it's better to actually wait until it's over.
When it comes to the content, and this is something that I probably personally struggle with the most, but I know that a lot of people that I speak to struggle with the most, is that how between creating content. Like you've absolutely mastered the platform that is TikTok, just as an example, because it's very real time, it's very sharing as you go. Like you've really tapped into what the platform is, which I think is incredible. But I think one thing that people struggle with, and people that would be listening to it, would be like it feels so overwhelming sometimes when it comes to posting, and it might just be posting like the actual practicalities behind it. Like, what do you post? How do you edit it? How do you come up with the ideas? Like more the strategic part behind the content, because I believe that your content isn't just you one day picking up a phone and being like, I'm going to film it. Like you've got such strategy and such an incredible mind behind what you post that people stay, people want to listen, people want to be there on that journey with you. So for me, selfishly, I want to know how do you do that? How do you create that content?
There's a few parts, and one of them you're not going to love, but there is an element of it that there is no strategy, and it is very much, I know people want to see what I do in the day out of curiosity of like, if I quit my job, what does that look like if I wanted to open up a business one day? And so that there's not a whole lot of strategy behind that. I quite literally have my phone, I set it up 10 times a day and I click record. I don't even really think about it. And then at the end, I just quickly shorten the clips. It's super unpolished. I film a 60-second voiceover. It probably takes me 4 minutes at the end of my day. It is so fast. There's not much thought. It's genuinely what happens in my day. I don't sugarcoat anything. It's just super raw and unedited, really. Then there's another part of it which strategically, whenever I have a problem at Gracie's that I do believe is a problem that people could solve for me, the first thing I do is I take it online. I don't necessarily think too hard about what I'm going to say, because I think that's what performs the best, is when you're raw and you're honest with your audience and you share your vulnerabilities. And so, for example, I posted, I think it was a week or two ago, I'm really nervous about this weekend of trade because Grand Final is on. That's obviously a very big day for Victorians. We don't have a license to show the AFL. So I'm really concerned that between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. it could be the quietest Saturday that we've ever experienced. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for staffing? Does this look like a day, that we're not going to break even? I don't know what that looks like. And so as soon as I kind of had the fear of that, the only thing I can do is really ask people to come and support. So the first thing I did was I jumped online and I asked people, should I bother opening? Should I open later? What do you as the consumers who love coming to Gracie's want? Because it's not about what I want. I'll work regardless. So when I have a solvable problem like that, there's more of a strategy of taking it online, just filming a raw open video, asking the question and seeing what responses come back. And that will genuinely tailor what I do in the business, because the demographic that comes into Gracie's are usually, majority of them are watching online. So I want to do what's right for them and what they want me to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's smart. I was reading it. The girls are like, I don't care about footy.
Yeah, exactly.
I was very sad. I was like, I'm actually proud of it.
But see, interestingly enough, that still doesn't give me that much confidence, because I know, as I am the demographic that goes to Gracie's, right? And I know that I'll want to be watching the footy if I wasn't working. And I will want to be with girlfriends. Everyone does house parties. Not everyone, but a lot of the demographic and the people that I hang around do that. So I'm still really nervous about Saturday. Despite having such a good response, I am still really nervous. So we'll see how that goes.
That's it. But I love how you still share that. And actually, when you said the no strategy part, I think that we're just so conditioned by, say, TikTok in particular. And that's the platform that we're talking about, where it's like, I don't know if you guys get this, but the videos that I get will be like, you must have a hook that's 3 seconds. You must do this. You must do this. So like, it's almost like we're conditioned to believe that to set yourself up for success through content, you've got to have a strategy and you've got to have this and have this and have this. But I absolutely love that you're just like, well, I have a problem and I need a solution. So I'm going and asking my customers. Like
100%. And if someone's wanting like a tangible takeaway from this, I do think that while I don't necessarily have a strategy and I don't, adhere to have a hook in 3 seconds and everything like that, they can be very useful tips if you're starting out and you're not really confident in social media. I think maybe because I'm the sort of person that would consume my own content, I know what my audience is after. If you're not sure who your audience is, trial different things. If there's something that gets 1,000 views versus 200, maybe you've got the right recipe there. Try and repeat that first little hook, or that length of the video might be perfect. It's literally trial and error. I have videos on there that flop and I know, okay, that style doesn't really resonate with my audience, so let's steer away from that. It's honestly trial and error. And as soon as you see a recipe that's starting to work, regardless of if it's 200 views or 600 views, take the recipe of the 600 views and try and do it a little bit better next time.
Yeah, I think because it's interesting, like I would probably be like a person that would like go to a wine bar, really enjoy the experience. But the thing that always caught my eye about your videos was like the planning and the build and the process of it as well. And I think, that's not necessarily like, I suppose when you start a wine bar, the thing that you would think, yeah, this is going to be great advertising, like me like sweeping the courtyard and throwing out the rubbish and throwing it out the window. But it was so interesting. And I think that sort of speaks to what you're saying. It's like it is that trial and error to see what works and what sticks. But have any of your videos or content that have gone really viral like surprised you?
I think all of it has surprised me because I don't find any of it that interesting because it's my day-to-day life, and I don't think my days are that interesting. They're kind of just long. So all of it does surprise me. I will say, right as we started opening, that was all quite surprising how, I guess, far and wide those videos sort of went in terms of there was one in particular where I think it's still pinned on my page where I was announcing the launch date, and we thought, hopefully like 1,000 or 2,000 people view this and that would be really amazing. And I think it got over 100,000 views or something like that. And that was just for the launch date. And so when we saw that, we were like, oh my gosh, people know we're opening. That's the most amazing feeling. But it wasn't an interesting video. It was literally me, unraveling a poster that had the launch date. And that was probably when I noticed, oh, there's eyeballs on this, and that's really bloody cool.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Do you have a background in marketing? Yeah, I was going to say, because I was going to I know you say there's not much strategy and all these pieces, but like the more I hear you talk and, when you say the thing about the views, like that is marketing right there. Like even like if this does this, then you follow that pattern and you follow this. And I think that that's such strong advice because I think because it's so accessible, we forget to approach content and that style of marketing as marketing. We kind of, look at it as something different. So I think that's really strong that you've kind of put it to that. And then I want to hear about the new business that you've launched. Where are you at with this new business?
We're in the middle of the build process at the moment. It looks very different to how Gracie's looked. And I think maybe that's because I obviously am a lot more time poor now. I don't have 7 days a week to dedicate to opening up this new business, but it's called Gracie's Space. For the meantime anyway, that could very well change. I'm pretty certain it's going to remain Gracie's Space, so hopefully, guys. And we actually got the keys last Friday, so it's all very new. It's very early days. Unlike Gracie's, the day we got the keys at Gracie's wine room, we were in there within an hour, demoing the place. I was in there with earmuffs and like chippers and getting the tiles off the wall. But this place, I went on Friday, I said hello to it, I gave a little wave, and I haven't actually been back since. So it's really different, and it's kind of sad in a way because I loved the build and the camaraderie around Gracie's wine room. But this space is quite different in the sense that it doesn't need a complete makeover. It's pretty finished, to be completely honest. It needs a minor fit out, and that's the sort of stuff that we physically can't do. So it just looks very different, this project, and maybe this is more realistic of what other business owners experience, but it's all very exciting. It's very early days. We're still going through the whole licensing process and everything, so I don't even know when it'll be ready.
What's the concept of it though? Because I know it's like obviously like an event space, but like talk through like what's the plan with this and why not do it at Gracie's? Like why do a new business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I noticed probably within the first couple of weeks, we do a lot of events at Gracie's wine room, and we have a private dining room upstairs, and It's honestly fully booked for the rest of the year, I believe. I think we have a couple of spots in December that's still available, and it's even already booked out for January. So we've been very fortunate in, I guess, how well that was received, but it only fits up to 30 people. And we also can't offer, I refuse to offer full venue hire on peak days because I would never want to upset regular customers. For me, it doesn't matter how high you set your minimum spend. I think it can really come, I think it can really come at a detriment to your business. I don't care about the money that you could offer. I would much rather keep my regular customers happy. And how annoying is it when you drive somewhere and you rock up and it says closed for private event? I feel like it's a terrible experience.
Agreed.
So I will never accept a full venue hire during the days that we're actually open for trade or the time that we're open for trade. So it leaves only Monday nights that we can really do full venue hire. And we've done so many of them. We've done so many brand events, and I think I really noticed, maybe it's because my previous career was in marketing and events, that I really loved tapping into that. I really loved working with brands and hosting people's events. So during the time where that was really kicking off, I was like, oh, how good if we had somewhere that we could offer like Thursday nights or Friday nights and we could do these brand events and marketing events, or we could host even Gracie community events without actually disrupting the trade of Gracie's wine room. So that was honestly where Gracie's space came into it. And then we wanted it to be more than just offering events. We really want to tap into the demographic that we know loves Gracie's and kind of connects with Gracie's the most. And honestly, that is 20-something to 30-something-year-old female marketing, PR sort of industry creatives. And so Gracie's space isn't just an event space. It's also going to have an element of co-working in there. So we're going, which will be really, I'm really excited about that because I do miss an office environment too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm really excited to curate kind of a great culture around co-working and have it quite intimate in there, maybe between 10 to 20 people co-working at any given time, and then also have a content space. So anyone that's kind of co-working will automatically have access to the content space, just because it's in kind of the creative realm is kind of what we're looking for the co-working. And then also that content space will also be open for hire from the public as well.
That's awesome. I think there's real and maybe you felt this because now you've got the physicality of Gracie's now that you can go into, but when you're working kind of by yourself, I think that co-working space is so needed, especially like COVID, and then when you are a sole trader or a freelancer and you're kind of working on your own, you just get so lonely.
100%. It can be really isolating working by yourself all day, every day. So I'm really looking forward to the co-working element of being able to be with other, like-minded professionals in similar creative industries or business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and you can all help each other.
Yeah, exactly. And is this something that you're building again with your partner, or are you doing this with somebody else, or is this like your own venture? Like, how is like the building of it happening?
Yeah, so similar situation. I still don't have enough money to own a business on my own. So it's definitely not me on my own. And Taylor, I probably drained a lot of his savings from Gracie's. So it is kind of the same shareholders in Gracie's, probably slightly different proportions. And then we have brought on one new shareholder and business partner. Her name is Hanneke. She is amazing. She actually started as my personal assistant, but very quickly I realised she's my doppelganger and she's such a hard worker, and we kind of came to her with this opportunity and she's so stoked to be a part of it, and will also be an investor and business partner in this. And yeah, she's going to absolutely kill it because I can't physically be in two places at once. So I always knew with the second business that we needed to build it and shape it in a way that there was someone that could really take that operational pressure off of me, because Gracie's is still so in its infancy and is always open, so needs so much attention. So we've brought Hanneke on board to really kind of own the operations side of it and just hit the ground running, and I can more mentor and oversee and guide the process, I guess.
It's very, very smart the way that you look at it all, because there's only so much time you have in a day, and you're right, Gracie's is so young in the big scheme of life. It is quite young. So your ability to build another business and bring somebody on that you trust and that you can that's just it's unreal. It's really, really exciting. What you've got you've done so much in the last year. You've done so much. You're building another business. Do you have mentors? Do you have people that you work with, or is this all just just go for it? I love what you said at the beginning. It's kind of just go for it and just see what sticks, because I think that's so inspirational to hear. But do you have, mentors that you can kind of lean on as well?
I haven't had any mentors. I really do want to find someone that I can lean on, whether that's a business coach or a mentor. I find hospitality is quite niche though. And when I've looked into business mentors that other people have recommended, it can be a very different mentality. I think what we're doing with Gracie's is, if someone saw how I set up Gracie's wine room, if, this 50-year-old man saw how I set it up with the amount of money that we had and kind of what we've done, I think they would be like, what the hell are you doing? It was probably so risky at the time, which again, naivety is great. So I think that also has come into mind when trying to find a mentor, that I need to find someone that actually gets what I'm trying to do and isn't just going to be very traditional about the process. And I haven't really found someone, I haven't really looked hard enough, but I haven't found someone. What I will say is that since opening Gracie's wine room, I have found some really amazing friends in other business owners. There is Lyndon and Ibrahim that own Toorak Cellars and the Alps and all of those venues, and they have been outstanding with their support. I have called them so many times of recent days actually, where I've had specific challenges around the actual operations of a business and really needed some help, and I thought I had no one to turn to, and they honestly took me under their wing and gave me so much advice and pointed me in the right direction. So while I don't have specific mentors, I've finally found some really great people in the industry that are really happy to give me a hand and guide me in the right place, that have been in it for so long.
Yeah.
And how special is that? Yeah. That you got it in the set, instead of competing against each other or feeling this competition, I know you're in different areas, but the fact that they're just hey, and I'm sure you do the exact same for somebody else should they come along.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you need. Maybe it's not necessarily a formalized, because I think that that it's changing a lot with mentorship and where you get your advice from. This is kind of where this podcast was born from. It's you don't always need someone formal to hold your hand and talk you through it. Sometimes you do need snippets of advice or an hour with someone versus, a formalized process to be able to get what you need and build out the business. So when you do have an immediate operations problem, you kind of pick up the phone and call them and say, this isn't going so well and I need my, your help and support and advice.
Absolutely. And I think just on that, hospitality is so different when it comes to, I guess, competition and other businesses doing a similar thing. You can go down Chapel Street and you have 50-odd hospitality businesses, all of which get along really well and exist in their own right and are all successful in their own right, because it doesn't matter how many restaurants and pubs and wine bars there are in Melbourne. You can all be successful in your own ways and you can all prop each other up. I really believe that there is so much strength in unity in hospitality and small businesses. And the one thing I would love to see is that everyone kind of have that same mentality, because you can be so helpful when you're united, especially when you have problems coming up against governing bodies and things like that. If you're a united front and you're really helping each other out, there is a chat which is Chapel Street's bar managers or something like that, and there's probably 150 odd people in it. And on a Friday, Saturday night, that is the most united chat I've been a part of. If there is, some crazy things happening on Chapel Street, which we all know there are. They post it in there. They let the other person know, oh, they're heading down towards your venue. Please be careful, guys. Please be safe. Or called the police here. Or, hey, guys, I've run out of tea towels. Does anyone have tea towels? And you just see so much camaraderie. And I think it's so important to look at your competitors in that way as friends and people that can actually really support you. I ran out of glasses once. I literally had no more wine glasses left in the venue, and I'm so lucky I could go down the street to the bar and use their branded glasses. So yeah, it's really important, I think.
That's really special, and I actually think that's a really nice story to share, because I think especially Chapel Street and that area and Melbourne in general nightlife, or Melbourne in general bars, restaurants, and those streets have had a pretty bad rap for some of the things that have happened recently with crime and whatnot. And I actually love hearing the positivity, because that doesn't get spoken about enough, and the unity of all the hospitality venues that are literally just doing their absolute best and can't control certain things that are happening on the street. And even when it does happen, it's actually really nice for us to know as consumers that you guys are all banding together, because Melbourne is known for their culture, for their restaurants, for their bars, for their wines. That's what I want us to be known for. We should be known for that. We're regardless of the things that happen and what news reports on, or chooses to report on, I think those stories should be the ones that are at the forefront, because that's special. Like, that makes me really proud to be a Melburnian when you say that, because I'm like, that's so cool. Like, you got to walk down there and you could borrow some other bar's wine glasses and like you give those to your customers and you explain the story. Like, if I was a customer, I'd be like, that is cool. Like, I would love that. And I'd love to know I'm supporting a wine bar and a business owner that can kind of be like, oh shit.
Yeah, literally.
Oops, we don't have that. And like, for me, like, that's the kind of person I want to support, or the kind of community that I really want to support. So I think that's really, really special.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that, with the business itself, like, obviously you're building Gracie's space, you've got Gracie's wine. Right? Do you have any cool things coming up or plans for Gracie's in particular now? It's like you're coming up to a year of doing it. Like, is there anything new on the horizon that you're planning?
Yeah, it's such a great question. We have little bits and bobs that we're working on. We're honestly just trying to gear up for summer. We haven't had a full summer yet, so I'm really excited. My first year, I just want to be open as much as possible and really see what works and what doesn't work, what public holidays work, what don't. There's going to be the kind of nuances around Christmas and New Year's trade and things like that. And so I think I'm just trying to find my feet and get through a year of trade. We have like new menu items, and this week we're doing Negroni Week, where $1 of every Negroni is going to help women affected by domestic violence. And we have sorts of initiatives like that we're really focusing on and still building a lot of community. In terms of what you're going to see that's brand new, we're launching a spritz menu, which I think I'm allowed to say because I should probably launch next week, which spritzes, believe it or not, are our number one selling drink over wine. Yep. Yeah. We sell more spritzes than anything else.
Yeah.
So we're launching a really big spritz menu next week, which will be really exciting. And then we're also launching a new food menu. We're trying to get a little bit more into our food side of things, which will be really fun and something very different for me. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. And then honestly, I think it's just all around creating good vibes around summer and just seeing how we operate for a full summer. It's really chaotic in there, and it's going to go through challenges of staff leaves, needing more staff, Christmas casuals and things like that. So I think just operationally, we want to make sure we nail the basics. And then early next year, I think we can start to dabble into some more exciting projects I have up my sleeve.
It's exciting. I think like the idea of your first summer period, especially like, again, Melbourne, like that sun comes out even like a little bit, and everyone's rushing out there, and holidays, like summer holidays, and all of those bits and pieces. What I'd love to end on is what I think is one of the most important questions, because I think, even the way that you've described your career thus far, and the last year alone thus far, what piece of advice would you give your fresh out of high school self? Like, you've just graduated, you've walked out, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give?
Just trust in the process and don't listen to people when they tell you can't do something. Just find a way to do it.
You're such evidence of that. Like, I think the thing that I kind of got out of this the most was like, I love how you're like, even with mentors, you're like, well, they're probably going to tell me no. I love that. It's like, I actually really appreciate that advice, because it's kind of like when you have such conviction in your goals and your business and you really believe in it, and even what you said around like the values and the things that you really put into the business and how you wouldn't want to say no to your regulars, to like those little bits and pieces, for me, listening to that is such gold, because it just shows the integrity of a business owner and who you are as a business owner, and the reason why people go to this, the reason why it's such a popular business in a year. Like, these people, the mentors, are probably looking at you and asking you advice, because I think it's incredible what you've done. So thank you so much for sharing your story. If people wanted to find the business, where can they go? You can find Gracie's Wine Room on Instagram, and then you can find all the journey on TikTok at Kelsie Grace. Beautiful. Amazing. Well, we will be back in your ears in 2 weeks' time, Kelsie. Thank you so much for being here today. And for those of you listening, we will see you in 2 weeks. See you then. Bye.